If your rideshare driver ever greets you by your full name, before you even open the car door, cancel the ride. Walk away. Don't ask questions. Don't try to be polite, because I did. And by the time I realized he shouldn't have known who I was, it was already too late. The police still haven't explained what happened that night, but they did tell me one thing. The man who picked me up was never registered as an Uber driver. This happened last November. I was flying home after a 3-day business conference in Chicago. My flight landed just after 11:30 p.m. It was freezing outside. The airport was packed. Every taxi had a line. So I opened Uber and requested a ride home. The app matched me within seconds. The driver's name was Daniel. Silver Toyota Camry. License plate matched. Rating 4.98 stars. Everything looked normal. I walked toward the pickup zone. A silver Camry pulled up exactly where the app said it would. Before I could even reach the door, the driver rolled down his window. He smiled, not a friendly smile. A smile that looked practiced. Then he said, "Good evening, Ethan Parker." Not Ethan. Not Mr. Parker, my full name. First, middle, last, exactly the way it appears on my passport. I froze. I asked, "How do you know my middle name?" He chuckled. "It's in the app." I believed him, at least for the first few minutes. The ride started normally. Soft music, GPs running, traffic was light. Then he glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "So, how's your mother doing after her surgery?" Every muscle in my body tightened. I had never mentioned my mother. Not online, not during the ride. Only 4 people even knew she'd had surgery. I stared at him. "What did you just say?" He kept driving. Calm, relaxed. As long as she's recovering, that's what matters. I immediately checked my phone. No messages. No hacked accounts. Nothing. I convinced myself he was guessing. A coincidence. Then he spoke again. "You still keep your spare apartment key inside the blue flower pot." My blood ran cold. That wasn't online. No one knew that. No one. I quietly opened the Uber app. The driver's profile picture looked different now. I blinked. Maybe I was imagining it. I refreshed the app. The trip was still active. But the driver's photo had disappeared. Just a gray silhouette. Then the GPS stopped updating. The blue route vanished. We weren't following the road home anymore. I looked outside. I didn't recognize the neighborhood. Streetlights became scarce. The houses disappeared. Trees surrounded both sides of the road. I tried to stay calm. "I think you missed the turn." He smiled without looking back. "No, this road is faster." It wasn't. I reached for the door handle. Locked, I tried the window. Nothing. The child lock indicator lit up. I asked him to stop the car. He ignored me. Instead, he started telling me stories. About my childhood, the elementary school I attended, the scar on my left knee from falling off my bicycle when I was 9, the old dog I'd buried behind my parents' house, things I had never posted online, things I hadn't thought about in years. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. I dialed 911. No signal. 1 bar. Then none. The screen flickered. Every contact in my phone disappeared. For 3 terrifying seconds, the only number saved was one called home. I never created that contact. The car finally stopped. In front of an abandoned farmhouse, the engine shut off. The driver looked at me through the mirror. "Someone wants to meet you." Before I could react, he stepped out of the car. I slammed my shoulder against the door. Locked, he walked toward the farmhouse, then vanished around the corner. For almost 30 seconds, everything was silent. Then someone knocked on my window. 3 slow knocks. I turned. It wasn't the driver. It was me standing outside, wearing the exact same clothes, the exact same jacket, the exact same terrified expression. He smiled, then pointed toward the front door of the farmhouse. I squeezed my eyes shut. When I looked again, the figure was gone. The door locks clicked open. I didn't wait. I threw the door open and ran. Branches tore at my clothes as I sprinted through the woods. I never looked back. An hour later, a state trooper found me walking along the highway, shaking, covered in mud. He drove me to the nearest station. I showed them the trip details. The officer frowned. There was never an Uber ride. I showed him the receipt. Gone, no record, no payment, no driver, nothing. Security cameras at the airport showed me leaving the terminal. Then, standing alone at the curb, talking to an empty lane, before walking into the darkness by myself. There was no Camry, no driver, no car. The footage showed me opening an invisible door and sitting down in thin air. The officers thought I was having some kind of breakdown until they reviewed another camera farther down the road. For exactly 1 frame, a silver Camry appeared. No headlights, no license plate, and a driver with no face. I tried to move on, deleted every rideshare app, bought my own car, changed apartments, changed my phone number. For months, nothing happened. Then one rainy evening, I opened my mailbox. Inside was a plain white envelope. No stamp, no address, just my name, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a printed photograph. It showed me sitting in the back seat of that silver Camry, looking out the window, completely unaware. The picture had been taken from the front passenger seat, but no one had been sitting there. At the bottom, someone had written a single sentence: "Thank you for riding with us again." I laughed, out of fear more than anything. Then my phone vibrated. A notification appeared. "Your driver has arrived. I don't have Uber installed anymore. I checked anyway. There was no app, no icon, no recent downloads, just the notification." When I looked out my living room window, a silver Camry was parked across the street. The engine was running. The driver's window slowly rolled down. He looked directly at me, smiled, and called me by a name I've never told anyone.